Good morning, fathers of daughters. This is Ephraim B. Martin, and welcome to Girl Dad YouTube channel. All fathers are welcome from all backgrounds and ethnic groups and cultures. Welcome, fathers. Got another live stream going on today, fathers. Today's live stream is our impact of hearing and listening to our daughters. Fathers, when it comes to listening and hearing our daughters, it's going to require a skill that we learn as when they're born, when they're toddlers, babies. These are just things. This is a skill set that we're definitely going to have to learn, because most men, when it comes to our daughters, we're not really going to be hearing them. We may be listening to them, but we're really not paying attention and hearing them. So as a father of 4 adult daughters, one of the things that I made sure when they were little girls that I focused on was listening to them and hearing them, because those are 2 different skill sets. We hear our daughters. Trust me, we hear our daughters. But a lot of fathers, we don't listen to them, right? And that could become a problem as they get older. Birth to 10 years of age, we pretty much have them under our guidance. We pretty much take them everywhere we go. We can control their movement because they're under 10 years of age. But that will change once they get to middle school and once they get to high school. So, fathers, I believe one of the things that we should be working on when they're little girls is, the ability of hearing them and listening to them. My book, Daddy's Girls, which is available at Amazon.com, you can get a copy of it through my YouTube channel. There's a link in there if you're interested. I talk about listening and hearing our daughters in my book. I live stream once a week every week. And the reason that I live stream once a week every week is to provide educational and informational resources for fathers, because I'm a girl dad. I've raised 4 successful daughters, so I know what it takes to raise baby girls, because I've done it 4 times. And I've learned a lot along the way. And for me now, at this transition in my life, this is my way of giving back to fathers, because I care. And I want to see all fathers, because I think I have the blueprint. I believe I've written a blueprint for the sense of urgency that all fathers must have with their daughters in order to build sustainable long-term relationships with our baby girls. So hearing and listening, fathers, it's an acquired skill. It really, really is, because our lives are busy. We're grinding at work every day. We're making sure that we're keeping our daughters protected and safe. And we have a lot on our plates, particularly if you're married, or you may be divorced, or you may be a single father. So we're going to have to learn how to hear our daughters and listen to our daughters. I have some great videos that I want to share with you fathers today. And what I do at Grow That YouTube channel is I'm working with all fathers, and I want to see all fathers be successful with their daughters. So all videos that I use are fair use videos from YouTube. And I just believe the more information that fathers have, the better decisions they can make regarding the best interests of their daughters. There's never such thing as having too much information, fathers. I mean, use what works, and whatever doesn't work, don't use it. But to be informed is critical in the sustainability of the relationships as our baby girls get older because their needs are going to change. Birth to 10, they have certain needs. 11 to 13, when they're in middle school and they're becoming teenagers, they're going to have different needs. And then 14 to 18, their needs are going to be different as well once they get to high school. Those are the 3 stages of development. Birth to 10, 11 to 13, and 14 to 18 years of age that I cover in my book, Daddy's Girls. So fathers, we have an opportunity here to really learn with hearing. We have an opportunity here to really learn with listening. And depending on the needs of our children, because all of our daughters are going to be different, it's going to require a different hearing and listening skill set for each one of them. All my daughters were different. So all their needs that needed to be addressed were different as well. So fathers, that's what this live stream is about today, is hearing and listening to our daughters and just making sure that we hear everything that they have to say and everything that they do say, because as they get older, like I said, the last thing we want is to have them blow us off as they're getting older, and then the relationship goes in a whole different direction in which it needs to go. But we're in control of that, fathers. We have to control that. And building long-term sustainable relationships with our daughters is going to take a lot of work. But the good thing about it is there's light at the end of the tunnel. And we have a ton of resources out there. YouTube is a great resource for doing your own research. I always encourage fathers to do their own research. It's great for visualization of videos, how-to tutorials, and it's just a great. I always say this: if it doesn't exist on YouTube and what you're looking for, it doesn't exist. But there are videos for all fathers from all walks of life. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always get your questions and concerns answered through visualization of videos. They're a great tool to use. And also doing your own research is going to help you become better equipped as a father and allow you, like I said, to make the best decision in the best interest of your baby girls. Okay, fathers. So with that being said, I have a few videos that I want to share with you today, okay? And let's begin with the first video that I want to share. Okay, let me get this set up. Okay. This is the first video, fathers.
Welcome to Children's Mom Docs. I'm Dr. Kelly Ross with St. Louis Children's Hospital, and today we're talking about developing healthy routines with kids' hectic school schedules. Like you, I'm a mom who's a working mom with many kids going 18 directions. And so I've spent a ton of time not only thinking about this, but looking at the research. And we do know some really important things about how do you accomplish that seemingly impossible task of getting your kids into a good routine, giving them activities and experiences without overbooking them. And that's our goal. We want our kids to have lots of opportunities to do different things, but we don't want them running around and stressed as 5-year-olds. And so the first thing you want to think about with your kids is, what's their temperament like? So every child is a little bit different. There are kids who thrive in having a highly scheduled, every hour they have something going on sort of life. There are other kids that are not at all that way and need to be encouraged to do a little bit. And so knowing how your child is, knowing what they need help with, and then gauging their activities, taking that into consideration is super important. Another thing is their age. So a 4-year-old's having an activity every single day when they don't have homework, when they don't have to wake up at a certain hour every day is fine. As kids hit middle school and high school, that becomes more of a challenge because they have other responsibilities. They're getting up earlier, they're having homework at night, and so extracurricular activities put an added stressor. They're good, but they also need to be balanced. And so in general, what we say in middle and high school is pick 2 activities that they really like and they really want to spend a lot of their time doing. As a working mom, you're at work until 5, 6 o'clock at night, but your kids are out of school at 2 or 3. And it's interesting because as much as we push avoiding technology is a great solution for knowing where your kids are. There are apps that allow you to put virtual gates up around their activities. And if they're outside of those geographic gates, then you get sent a text or an alarm. So even if you're busy at work, your alarm goes off to tell you your child's not where they're expected to be. You can also use the buddy system. So your child is a kindergartner and there's a 5th grader who walks them to the door and makes sure that they're in and safe until the help comes later on in the afternoon. And then you can use the buddy system with other moms. So you're responsible Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The other mom helps Tuesday and Thursday. After school starts, maybe 1 month into the school year, do a check-in. So ask yourself at the end of the day, how is the current routine going? Is my child getting enough sleep? Are they getting their homework done? Do they seem stressed? Do they seem bored? Are they spending too much time on electronics? And then use all that information to say how your current scheduling is going. If it's my household, my one child needs to be scheduled constantly because he'll be on the computer 6 hours a day if he's not scheduled. So thinking about, for your particular children, what works and using the parameters of adequate sleep, adequate homework time, adequate downtime, and not too much technology, and checking in frequently will allow you to figure out just how much scheduling your child should have. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out some other videos on our channel.
Okay, fathers. That was an excellent video, and the doctor. And what I appreciate about that is it takes me back to when my adult daughters were little. I have 4 adult daughters. My youngest, Cheyenne, she's 23. So I got a 23, 26, 29, and 35. And I remember one of the things I did consistently with my baby girls when they were little is I always made sure they were in bed at 8 o'clock at night, and I got them all up. I got them up between 5:30, about 5:30 in the morning. Except with my baby girl, Cheyenne, my youngest daughter, she struggled in the morning. She just, from the time she came out the womb, this girl, all my girls love their sleep, but my baby girl, Cheyenne, she just wouldn't wake up. I think about it now, and it's crazy because when we talk about it, we were able to laugh. And, we just, we laugh about it now. And, it was just for her, it was a struggle. And, I just remembering having to wake her up at about 5. I'd have to wake her up about 30 minutes before my other daughters to get her day going because Cheyenne struggled. She struggled. So yeah, it's it's funny now. It's really, really funny now. And I really enjoyed the birth to 10 years of age stage because, like the doctor was saying, you have to know your child, you have to know your children, and just making sure you know their temperament, understanding how they move, making sure that their nutritional needs are being met, and just making sure that you're hearing and listening. And that's the purpose of this live stream today, is hearing and listening. And like I said, it's an acquired skill set, fathers, that you'll learn the more that you spend time with your baby girls. You'll definitely learn your baby girls. I dress my daughters every morning. I did their hair. I made sure that they ate, and then I took them to school. And then their mother was responsible for picking them up. And then we would alternate those schedules as well, depending on our work schedules. The great thing about the schedule for my daughters when they were little girls, when they were in the primary grades in middle school, I was a probation officer during their primary grades and became a teacher, dean of students as they got to middle school and high school. So I always had a flexible schedule. That's the main reason why I became a probation officer, is because I knew that if something happened with my children, I'm going to be able to leave my job and attend to them. So, picking your profession is also critical as far as being able to attend to your kids. And we all have to make choices as parents. So I always made sure the choices that I made career-wise were always in the best interest for my daughters in case something would happen for them and to them. So it takes two parents to be able to raise these baby girls, raise our children. Single parents, I commend them because it's not easy. And when you have two parents, you have to be on the same page, and you have to be in sync and communicate with one another. So I appreciate that that video from the doctor, because it's right on point. I believe it's on point. And she she's around kids all day, being in a hospital. So she gets to see everything that's going on with these children. And I'm sure she's interacting with them all the time as a doctor, and, very, very encouraging. I worked with children for 30 years, 20 years in the criminal justice system, and 10 years in K-12 education. So I'm good with kids. I know my strengths. I don't have patience for adults. I don't like most adults, to be perfectly honest, because when you're dealing with adults, there's always some levels of foolishness and nonsense. With children, at least I know that there's hope for them. They're not set in their ways. And kids are brutally honest. Most adults aren't honest. Kids are brutally honest. And the more I worked around children, the more I really learned to appreciate children and what they bring into adults' lives. Okay. So that was the first video. I want to get the second video set up, fathers, so we could take a look at it and continue this live stream. Fathers of daughters, I hope that you're enjoying the live streams that I'm bringing every week. And feel free to comment. Feel free to participate. I know for a lot of fathers, I know I'm a girl dad, so I know for a lot of fathers, you may be nervous because you may not feel like it's a safe space. And I understand that. But what I want to encourage all fathers, regardless of your ethnic group and culture, is when you see my live streams or if you see my videos, check them out and look at them, and I can help you. I'm a resource on the internet, on YouTube. There's not another father out there doing what I'm doing. I've been through every stage of development with my daughters. Yes, there's other fathers that are there, have YouTube channels, and your children are younger, under 10, you may have teenagers, but I'm 58 years of age and I've been through every stage of development with my daughters, and I've also written a book. So I share my professional experience using the criminal justice system, as well as K-12 education as a teacher and dean of students, with my life experience as a Grow Dad. And I bring those three together to share with fathers, to give fathers hope, because I know it's not easy, dads. It's not easy. It's challenging. A lot of times fathers may want to run away and just give up. I get it. Then have dealt with many fathers, and fatherhood isn't easy, but we have to grind. We have to grind, and we have to be able to show our daughters at the end of the day, they're going to be okay and that they will make it okay. All right, fathers, here's the next video.
Carry the one and carry the fun. Are you guys getting this?
Uh-huh. Oh, and Mommy, don't forget there's more on the back. And show your work.
Oh.
So your work. As millions of children head back to school, some parents like Tracy Ellis Ross's character in Blackish may need help getting their kids to focus on their studies. Researchers have found the typical student is distracted for at least 5 out of every 15 minutes they set aside to study, and I think they're underestimating. James Clear is the author of the New York Times bestseller Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. He is here with how parents can help their kids get back into a routine for the school year. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm taking a kid back to college next week who is going to be clinging to summer, I know, with the tips of his fingernails.
Yeah.
So how do you get a kid to shift their focus?
Good question. Well, first, I think we should say there's going to be a wide difference in study habits for, like, say, a second grader versus, say, a junior in college, right?
Obviously.
Like, they're.
Are you sure?
We have a difference there.
Yeah.
So different strategies work at different stages, I guess is my point. But one thing that I think does apply across all stages is an idea in the book that I talked about called habit stacking.
Right.
And the basic idea is you take whatever habits you currently do. So let's say, for example, at the end of dinner, one habit we all have is we clean our plate.
Right.
And then we put it in the dishwasher. Well, you could stack the study habit on top of that. So you could say, after you put your plate in the dishwasher, you immediately open your book on the table.
Yeah.
And especially as you get into school again, you're really trying to build that routine. And so whether it's after dinner or as soon as you walk in from school or whatever, building a habit stack that's reliable and consistent is a good way just to get started.
Does environment matter?
Of course, if you walk home and you open up the door and your kid sees a video game controller on the floor and the TV is on, like, that's an environment where it's easy to be distracted. Versus walking in and, like, the table is clean, there's space to put their books, the TV's behind a cabinet or a wall unit, the video game controller's tucked away. That's an environment that's much more primed for studying. And I think that's one role parents can play is to try to prime the environment to make it easy to get into studying with fewer
to the extent they can, in a
Sure.
small apartment, it can be difficult. We mentioned at the top that for every 15 minutes that a kid is studying, for 5 of those minutes, he's probably distracted. How do you change that ratio?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of the time we get distracted because of phones. So especially as students get older, they start to get their own phones, and those things are always creeping in and distracting. Some of that is personal, like digital habit hygiene. So turning off notifications or maybe putting your phone on silent. There's actually a little device called a kitchen safe. And it's like a Tupperware container, but you can lock it. So you can program it to lock for like an hour, for example. So you could, when you start your study session, put the phone in the Tupperware, lock it for an hour and set it aside.
You were showing me your phone. Did you bring it out here?
Yeah. So
I've never seen a home screen like this.
Well,
I thought your phone
I don't know
was
if
broken.
you can see this, but the home screen of my phone doesn't have
It's
any
black,
apps
yeah.
on the main screen. So I just have the bar down here.
Yeah.
And then if I want to get to the apps, they're there. I can just swipe over and they're inside folders and whatnot.
But it's just one little step.
When I
Get
wanted
excited in your mind
to,
here.
No,
when I wanted to build a reading habit, I put Audible for audiobooks and Pocket in the bottom and so the first thing I saw were apps that prompted me to read. And you can think about this both for digital environment and physical. You're just trying to reduce the number of steps between you and the productive behaviors and increase the number of steps between you and the bad ones.
We were talking
Should you ever
Yes.
incentivize kids
paying
to
kids.
Paying
even
to
pay
do their
them
homework.
Yeah.
do their homework?
external rewards sometimes get criticized because it's like,
Yes.
oh, well, you don't want to pay them, and then they just learn. They only get good grades because they're getting paid to do it. But the truth is, we use external rewards all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
you get paid every 2 weeks for your job, and that's an external reward that helps to get you to show up.
Yeah.
So I think the key, though, is you want to reward the process and not the outcome,
Yeah.
right? Like there's two very different things between saying, hey, you're rewarded for studying vocab every night or for doing flashcards every evening versus you're rewarded for getting a good grade on the test.
When the question was phrased, should they get paid for doing their homework? I didn't like it. But when the question was phrased, should you get paid if you get an A? I thought, well, that's not so bad.
Yeah, we take
Yeah.
that.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I think ultimately you're trying to build an identity of being a lifelong learner or being someone who's curious, someone who takes responsibility for their studying and their own learning. And so if you can say, we really care about this in this household,
Yeah.
being a lifelong learner is the most important thing. And in fact, we care about it so much that we're going to reward for it. But the signal that you should get when you get paid to study or paid to get a good grade is not that you should only study when you get paid. It's that we're reinforcing being a lifelong
And by
learner.
the
We've been
way,
teasing you.
all these
Go ahead.
habits can work for parents too.
You
If they're
don't want
coming
to
back
make
from
it
vacation.
chores. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to make
James,
it
we've
chore,
been
right?
saying you're going to tell us how to focus and succeed.
I hope I was able to help.
I want to know how to succeed. Focus
So,
and succeed. One
The
sentence.
key, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So
right.
so often we think
I like
success is
that.
about the goal, but it's really about the habit and the system that you follow.
All
All right, James Clear. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Say hello to your lovely wife.
Thank you.
Okay, fathers. That was another excellent video. And I can tell you, as a father of 4 adult daughters, you're always going to have the controversy of, do we pay children or give them an allowance for good grades or what have you? Once again, that's a parental decision. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer when it comes to that. I personally never paid my children for grades. Most of my daughters, when they were in middle school, they were on honor roll because of the work habits and the study habits they acquired when they were in elementary school. The consistency for me was way more of a caveat for them than to reward them for something they should be doing, required to do. I always explain to my daughters, their mother and my responsibility is to keep them clothed, fed, and a head over their roof. Their responsibility as a child is to have a great time, grow, and graduate from high school. So, and contribute to the family. So we started that early with our daughters when they were 2, 3, 4 years of age, and it became routine. So our daughters didn't have to, it wasn't something they ever thought about because it was routine. And they saw their parents participating in being a part of their routine. So, I really don't get caught up in the debates on, when you pay kids, they're going to turn out a certain way. I just don't believe that. I've worked with too many children where they've never received any type of validation from their parents because they didn't feel that their parents were hearing them and listening to them. And, once again, fathers, our children, if you're not hearing them or listening to them, they will go to other adults that will hear them and listen to them. And I just think that's not in any father's best interest. Having your daughters feeling like they're not being heard or listened to. Because what ends up happening is kids become resentful. I've worked with thousands of children over 30 years. So I know what I'm talking about here. And like I said, I just don't, kids taught me a lot. Kids taught me how to advocate for them. Kids taught me how to meet them where they're at. Kids taught me how to not judge them. So I learned a lot being around children for 30 years. And I implemented the things I learned from children with my own daughters. And it worked. 100% it works. So once again, that's going to be a family situation when it comes to how you're going to run your household. I don't tell parents how to raise their children. What I do is I provide information and education and resources, educational resources for fathers to make better informed decisions, what's in their best interest for them and their children. You ultimately are the parents. You ultimately have to make those decisions, what's in the best interest of your kids. But use your toolbox. Every parent has a toolbox. And I just think it's better to maintain a full toolbox than not have a toolbox at all, because all parents need help. None of us know everything. None of us are going to know everything. So the more resources that are available in our toolbox, the better off we're going to be collectively, I believe, as a parent. Okay. Let me get this next video set up for you, fathers. Let me see. Okay, this next video. Okay, fathers, this next video that I'm going to show to you is, it's a, this is what can happen to our daughters, or let me say this. This is what could happen in the relationship of the father-daughter relationship when we're not paying attention and hearing and listening to our daughters. This next video here, I'll do some commentary after it's over, but this is a prime example of what can happen to the father-daughter relationship when fathers are not hearing their daughters and listening to their daughters. This is a prime example, fathers. Okay.
We recently announced a new This Morning campaign to help tackle the dangerous rise of children and teenagers taking up vaping.
Now, our campaign has already been backed by England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Sir Chris Whitty, and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And today we're hearing why this issue is so important.
Yeah, like so many teenagers and around teenage age, 12-year-old Sarah Williams admits she was addicted to vaping. But last month, she was left fighting for her life in a medically induced coma after doctors say vaping exacerbated her asthma.
Following that terrifying experience, Sarah is now hoping to warn others. She joins us now with her mum, Mary, alongside respiratory expert, Professor Nick Hopkinson. Good morning to all of you. Nick, we're going to come to you very shortly. Let's start off with you, Sarah, because obviously so many children are picking up this habit of vaping. How did you get started in it, and did someone recommend you to start doing it?
So I was out with a friend, me and my younger sister. I was 9. She was 7.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who wasn't really a friend. She lived at the bottom of my street, and she was 13 at this time, and she had been vaping. And she had said to me that I should have tried it, and then I tried it. She actually had my younger sister try it when she was 7, but my sister my sister didn't like it. Whereas I done it that once and then completely forgot about it, and then as I was in my first year of high school, I started picking up the habit of vaping again.
And just because when you tried it, you liked it, and was it kind of peer pressure from your friends? Was it just kind of the done thing to do?
It was just a trend, basically. Like, if you don't do it, then you're not very much liked.
Mary, as a parent, like, you know, I can only imagine what it's like, because you're sort of kicking yourself. But at the same time, when we're growing up, it was always smoking, right? Now, smoking is so easy to detect.
Yeah.
You can smell smoking often.
Yeah.
Vaping is so much more serendipitous. You know, it's just,
Unless they're doing it in front of you,
Exactly.
you can't actually sense that they're doing it. You know, you just sort of have to be vigilant, but you can't follow them about 24 hours a day. So with Sarah, when she was caught, when she was 9, she was grounded, her phone took off her, things like that. And she never looked back. So then when she was starting secondary school, she had been hanging about with the ones that were. So I knew then to keep an eye on her. But as I say, I mean, they're getting it in school, they're doing it outside of school, they're doing it on their way to school, from school. They're hiding them everywhere. There's ones that's allowed, so they can take theirs home and give it back to them the next day.
Did you ever find a vape on her, or see the box in the bin or anything like that?
Found vapes on her quite a few times, and of course you get all the excuses. Oh, that's my friends, that's this, that's...
Yeah.
So
I would usually share them with my friends. We would put our money together, or else we'd just share them, because there's certain friends whose mummies would let them, so you could buy them off your friends. Or else you just go in, because there's certain shops that would serve young ones.
Yeah.
And me and my friend got one, and we had shared it, so she had taken it home with her.
Oh, so you didn't have anything on you, so it didn't look like you vaped?
Yeah.
So she brought it in the school, and then I would have had it during school hours, and then because we would have got the bus together to school and coming home, and we would have met each other in the toilets, because we get toilet passes. And we both had a toilet pass, so we'd text each other and be like, go to the bathroom now, I'll bring it down for you.
it's so hard to keep track of all of that, isn't it? It's impossible.
Yeah.
And Sarah, you got to the point where you were addicted so much, you were doing like about 4,000 puff vapes every couple of days. Is that right? So how did this come to a head? When did you get ill? What happened?
At the start of September.
After how many years? About 4 years of vaping? Or 3 years of
I
vaping?
think it'd only be 2, because I done it that once when I was 9 and then stopped, and then it was when it came into first year last year.
So
is when I had one on me every single day. Like, I was never without one.
Mary, what happened?
everything. So you go through all the major disciplines, you know, like you're grounded, you take your phone, you're not getting money. As Sarah said, if I want to do it, I'll do it. You know what I mean? There's no way that you
become an addict.
You can't, as I said, you can't follow them 24 hours a day. So there's no point. I mean, I threatened to take her bedroom door and all off so that she wouldn't have the privacy to be able to do it. Do you know what I mean?
So when did the problem come about with Sarah's breathing? What happened then?
That was around about the 10th or 11th of September. Sarah on the Sunday night had started coughing. And around about this time of year, Sarah's asthma would play up a bit anyway. So she had her inhalers and the nebulizer. And so she was coughing throughout the night. As I say, we never thought anything of it. There was no signs of anything else. Thought maybe just a chest infection. And then on the Monday morning, she said she still wasn't feeling great, so she stayed in bed. I was getting the kids to school, but just left the house when she asked to come back. And she was coughing again, so she took her inhalers again and the nebulizer. And shortly after, she seemed to settle. I went to the shop. She rang me. Mama, I need you to come back. She could barely breathe, barely string a sentence together. I need a doctor or hospital.
Yeah.
And so I rang her daddy. He came straight away. And it literally just
snowballed from there.
Snowballed like immensely.
So you were rushed into hospital. You was admitted. They looked at your lungs, and one of your lungs was so bad that you had to be put into an induced coma.
All I remember was I went in, they done my vitals.
Yeah.
And heart rate, everything was perfect.
Yeah.
My oxygen was low, so I texted my mummy and said, "Can you come down? My oxygen's low." And then next thing I was in the X-ray room, they done it, and then I get put into like a wee side ward kind of thing. And all the doctors come around and looked at it and were staring at me. So then I started panicking and then started texting my mummy and my friends saying, "I'm in hospital, I don't know when I'm getting out or if I'm getting out." And
that's when I received a text message from Sarah.
So she went into a induced coma, is that right?
Yeah, when she was in the resus room, her daddy and her younger brother was with her. So when I got there, I gave Sarah a hug, told her everything was going to be okay. Although I seen the many doctors, I wasn't convinced.
No, sure.
How
frightening was that as a mom to see your child in that situation?
She was on, and she just looked so small. She was sitting on the end of the trolley. the machines, everything. The doctors then showed me the x-rays where one lung was working, one wasn't. Explained that vaping is probably what exacerbated the asthma. And she needed 24-hour care. So they explained she was going to have to go to ICU. And while they were there, while they said half an hour to get her settled, it took 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
At this stage, I thought Sarah was dead.
And when she came out of that, what did they say to you in terms of like how her lungs are going to be now?
With the vaping and stuff, Sarah's lungs has now been left. There's permanent damage, or they'll never be working 100%.
What do you want to say, both of you? What do you want to say to people who are out there right now of your age or around your age who are thinking about doing this?
Thank you,
Don't
Sarah.
listen to your friends. Don't think it's going to make you cool, because it doesn't. It's just...
It could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
It could happen to anyone. Sarah's, we've all learned the hard way now with Sarah. Just want to get that message
Sure.
out there.
Nick, let's bring in you. So let's talk about how dangerous vaping is for younger people.
So I think there are two really important but sort of separate messages about vaping. The first is that for people who smoke, vaping is much, much less harmful than smoking. So anyone out there who is a smoker, who's thinking about switching across to vaping, that go for it. It is a way of reducing your risk, because the toxic materials that are in cigarette smoke, like tar particles and carbon monoxide, are not in vaping. So
Yeah.
that's a message for adults, for people who smoke. Vaping is something that
It's a tool
you can
to
do.
use. Yeah.
But it's certainly not harmless. The sort of vapor will be irritating for the lungs, and particularly in people who already have a health problem like asthma. It's likely to make that worse, and it could certainly aggravate that. So, two clear messages for children: don't go anywhere near this.
And for parents, don't let your children go anywhere near.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a really clear message that that lungs, especially growing lungs, need to breathe clean air. And we talk a lot about reducing air pollution to protect lung health, the effect of passive smoking on lung health, and vaping is another element of that. That for children, when their lungs are growing and developing, they need to be breathing clean air.
And allergic reactions are possible as well from these vapes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think there are sort of two different things related to vaping.
Yeah.
The one is that it will cause some irritation to the airways, and over 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, if someone vapes for a long time, it's likely that will cause an accumulation of lung damage. So obviously the best way to prevent that happening is never to start in the first place. So that's the sort of the long-term effect. So again, much less than smoking, but not nothing, and we want to avoid that.
Yeah.
There are also, fortunately, very rare sort of allergic type reactions, which can cause people to develop very acute sort of lung inflammation. I mean, those are very serious, can take people into hospital, need to be on a ventilator, and can be fatal. But they are incredibly rare. But the main thing is just this is something that will damage lungs, over time, can aggravate things like asthma, and absolutely needs to be avoided by kids.
Thank you. And just out of interest, what's your recovery like now, Mary? Is it going all right?
Her recovery's going well. She's back to school. She's not as active as what she would have been.
Yeah.
Obviously now we're having planned things differently. Sarah has things in place. Asthma plans, new inhalers. She's going to remain a high-risk patient. So it has changed her life. It's not just, it wasn't just staying in hospital and get better and that's it. It's now something that she will always have.
Thank you for using your story, because there's so many people out there who are vaping, and hopefully they listen to your story, Sarah, and stop. Hopefully.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Sarah. Thanks for being brave enough to come in. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Just the British Independent British Vape Trade Association said vaping is a proven extremely effective tool for adult smokers, given its substantially safer alternative. However, no vape retailer should be selling illegal vape products or selling any vape products to someone under 18. The IBVTA works closely with the UK authorities to enforce restrictions. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, fathers, what are your thoughts on that video? This is just my opinion. I believe when it comes to this whole thing with vaping and Gen Alpha boys, Gen Alpha girls, they're the teenagers right now, and Gen Z. I believe what needs to happen is the same thing that happened to the tobacco industry. There needs to be a class action lawsuit against the vaping companies. This is crazy. My youngest daughter, Cheyenne, is 23. She has asthma. And I know when she was a little girl and she had asthma and the struggles with the asthma, she ended up becoming a female boxer. So we had to watch her, but she always had her inhaler with her. And we always made sure that she understood if she was having an asthma attack, to always be calm as much as she can and breathe. I taught her to inhale in her mouth, exhale with her nose. Inhale, I'm sorry, in her nose, exhale with her mouth. So in, out. That's what I taught her as an athlete, to preserve her lung capacity. But what's crazy about this whole vaping thing, I'm going to show another video right behind it on vaping, is it just really, it pisses me off to no end. These companies, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're targeting kids, and they know they're selling this crap to kids under 18 years of age. That's a 12-year-old child. Okay, so I don't want to hear the nonsense, the foolishness about, well, they get a hold of it. No. 10 to 18-year-old children are being targeted. That's the bottom line. So hopefully, since it's on a global scale, and we have parents that are dealing with this on every continent, there needs to be class action lawsuits to shut them down, period. That's what I want to see happen. That's what I want to see happen. I'm sick of these companies making money off of our children and exploiting our children in the sake of bottom line economics. It pisses me off to no end that these companies go for children. They're foul as hell. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know that these parents are vulnerable, and that's exactly why they target children. So hopefully, beginning in the United States, there needs to be class action lawsuits. Go for them. Make them pay billions of dollars and make them go out of business. Because it's nothing but a bunch of poison that they're putting in our children's bodies. So that's just my opinion, fathers of daughters, parents. I stand on it. Okay, let me show you this next video. It's about vaping as well. Okay, let me see.
Addiction, psychotic episodes, and thoughts of suicide. Well, that's the fallout from a dangerous trend sweeping through America's schools. More teenagers and young children are vaping THC, the key ingredient in marijuana. Medical reporter Lori Johnson reports on this major health threat.
The most recent CDC figures available show more than 1 in 5 high school seniors vaped THC in 2020, a significant increase over prior years and likely even greater today. Many parents may know THC is the main psychoactive compound in marijuana, but don't realize vaping it is much more potent than smoking a joint.
It started whenever I was 14 years old. I was about in 8th grade.
Vaping THC provides a much quicker high that can be damaging and addictive.
It was like 1 or 2 hits of the pen and I would instantly be high.
Unlike typical marijuana cigarettes that contain 10% THC, these new vaping devices can concentrate it to a staggering 95%.
And the higher the dose of THC, for example, the higher the likelihood that you will end up with a psychotic episode. And that will lead you to end up in the emergency room department.
The longer that I used it, just the more my mental health started deteriorating, my grades were slipping. I couldn't really think or concentrate as well. In my mind, I was trapped in this delusion of like, I have to commit suicide because my parents are going to find out.
Doctors say today's ultra-potent pot can interfere with heart and lung function, plus cause severe vomiting and abdominal pain.
All of these are new presentations that physicians are seeing in the emergency departments associated with consumption of high-level THC that we actually didn't even know existed.
Vaping THC is often odorless, so it's easy to hide even at school.
You know, I could do it in class. I could do it in the bathroom.
Since turbocharged THC delivers such a powerful hit to the brain's pleasure center, it can also lead to addiction.
The only thing I was thinking about was, when's the next time I can use this again? Or like, when's the next time I can go to the bathroom or the teacher will let me go?
A loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill, which legalized hemp, also covered Delta-8 THC vape products, which are synthesized from hemp. That means in addition to cannabis dispensaries, they can be sold at smoke shops, gas stations, and online in nearly every state. Manufacturers literally sweeten the deal by adding kid-friendly flavors like strawberry and bubblegum.
I do not understand why the United States of America, why our government is not protecting our children. That is their job. The people that want to profit off our children's, off our families' destruction, have a lot of power in our country.
Christian parenting expert Kelly Newcomb issues a call to action.
Ultimately, God's word says that we are to be sober-minded. We are to be on the lookout for the devil prowls like a roaring lion, waiting for someone to devour. And marijuana is one way to just sort of numb our children's brains. One other way that Satan is using to get kids to walk away from the faith.
Newcomb says parents should become familiar with the appearance of vape pens, and if suspicious, search their child's bedroom and backpack for the pens, as well as missing or spliced charging cords, which are used to power the pens.
When they are this young, because I've heard of 11-year-olds even using this as they're entering into like 5th, 6th grade, it's really decisive action. You need to act really fast.
Newcomb also recommends taking smartphones from kids suspected of using drugs to limit potential access.
Because that is how they're accessing all of it through, and you could call them dealers, but they're often just friends. They're people at the school who've got older siblings who are buying it, but essentially they're dealers.
Allow kids to communicate using a kid-safe phone like Pinwheel.
Pinwheel allows you to read all of your child's text messages from your own phone through the caregiver portal. And that's really helpful. And you can sort of find out who are the kids who are asking for vape or asking if they want vape.
Parents can also use a drug test available at pharmacies as an option.
So it's just having that conversation of saying, while I trust you, I can't, I trust God and I fear God more than I fear, you being mad at me for drug testing, because this is really prevalent.
Some parents feel testing actually gave their child an excuse to stay sober while also saving face.
It was a good preventative measure for him to say to his peers who were pressuring him to use, like, I'm not going to use because I know I'm going to get drug tested any day.
The THC metabolite is actually stored in the fat and it lasts a long time. So it can actually stay in the urine for up to 4 to 6 weeks.
Some kids choose THC vapes because they do not typically contain fentanyl like other street drugs. Doctors fear that could change.
I think we cannot be complacent and we have to be open to the possibility that someone may think about doing this and say, well, if I want to have a unique product for vaping THC, what about I mix it with fentanyl and then sell a product that's going to be incredibly dangerous?
Fortunately, Nick got the help he needed to quit vaping THC.
Like, I feel so much better off of this. Like, I feel like I can be free and experience life like I should.
He urges others to kick the habit, or better yet, never start. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
The best way to never form a habit is to never start. So if you suspect your children have started, well, yes, you need to intervene. It may seem like an invasion of privacy. They will absolutely object to it. But please protect the mind of your child. There's a reason we call it dope. It's because it makes you dopey. And if you want to succeed in life, if you want to get good grades in school, if you want to advance, if you want to be able to have your own family, all the things that are essential to having a rewarding life, well, sitting around getting high isn't going to get you there. If you keep going back to this stuff, that habit is absolutely going to destroy your life. So the best thing, never start. So if you're a parent, please watch out for it. If you want resources on how to protect your kids from this growing problem, all you have to do is go to cbnnews.com, click on this, the article there on this story, and we want to provide it for you. We want to help your family.
Okay, fathers. Once again, another excellent video talking about vaping. You know, I think about when my children were being raised, and back then, when I spoke to them about drugs and alcohol and those type of things, back then it was marijuana was prevalent, but it was different. You know, there were other drugs at that time. So every generation is going to have to deal with their demons. And as parents, millennials, because I'm Gen X, so all of our kids are grown. And, you know, we're looking at grandbabies now. So millennials, you have a lot on your plate to deal with. And it's evolving and it's changing. I know when I was a probation officer and dealing with a lot of the kids that were using drugs and alcohol, it was most of them when they ended up in the criminal justice system. So I just, like I said in my last statement, I believe there needs to be a class action lawsuit, because these manufacturers, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're targeting children, point blank period. 10 to 18, they're targeting them. And the one thing they understand economics, and they do understand being sued, and they do understand having to give up all their assets by being sued. So I see that coming down the pipe from parents, and it needs to happen, because these manufacturers, they're foul. They're straight foul. What they're doing as far as targeting kids and trying to get all these kids hooked on drugs. And what adult in their right mind, you got to think about the psychology of this, right? If you think about the psychology of this, what adult in their right mind would make flavorful hemp, flavorful colors, taste for inhalants, other than to get a kid addicted? That is the purpose. If you look at regular medicine, Tylenol and those sort of things, when our children get ill, they're you know, you have gummy bears that are in different flavors, and there's a reason for that. And the thing about it is they think parents are dumb and aren't aware. It's just, that's crazy to me, parents. So you got to pay attention, parents, and be a part, hearing and listening to our daughters, fathers. I'm telling you, this is part of that hearing and listening. We ain't hearing and listening, and our kids, we don't know who their friends are, who they're hanging out with. These things can happen quick, because we don't control their peer group once they leave the house. When we send them off to school, this is what it is. They're going to be meeting kids. Everybody ain't from the same environment. Everybody don't have the same, all parents don't have the same boundaries. Some parents are friends with their children, cool with their kids. Instead of being a parent, they're cool with their kids. Telling you, this will come back and bite us in the butt, fathers. Okay. Let me get this next video set up, fathers.
Enrolled. This morning, we're going to continue our special focus on mental health, kids in crisis, with a look at solutions to help struggling teenagers. This evening, CBSNews.com and our CBS-owned stations across the country will exclusively stream the documentary Connecting the Dots, exploring the global youth mental health crisis. Meg Oliver spoke with a group of New Jersey high schoolers enrolled in a special class learning simple strategies to ease stress and improve their learning and their well-being.
3 days a week, Grinnellese crews Maddie Torres and Alex Kumar meet with their high school social worker, Kristen Madden.
We could start with some breathing exercises to just kind of get us calm.
In 2020, the Parsippany Hills School District in New Jersey started the STRIVE program. It offers at-risk youth academic support for the classroom and teaches coping skills for their emotions.
I got depressed and it wasn't really good. I was kind of in my room a lot and it wasn't really fun.
How bad did it get for you?
It got bad. It's definitely been better since I've gotten in this program. I think the last few weeks have been hard for me, for sure.
Yeah. Why have they been hard?
Just like school. And Ms. Madden definitely helps me this morning.
On this day, Maddie was struggling with some online teasing. She's not alone. Numerous studies have shown an association between increasing social media use and depression. Researchers found that teens compare themselves to curated images posted online and feel inadequate and insecure.
Raise your hand if you've been depressed. Raise your hand if you've struggled with anxiety. Raise your hand if you feel like you're in a better place today.
I'm having more of a smile on my face now. I'm being more positive.
Kristen Madden wants parents to know that their children are facing bigger challenges than when they were adolescents.
It's real for these kids. Usually they're not trying to be difficult. They really are struggling.
Have you ever seen it this bad?
Never. Breathe in for 4 seconds.
In addition to academic support, Madden teaches her students coping strategies from breath work,
Hold it for 7 seconds.
to grounding.
One of the activities that you can do anywhere if you're feeling anxious is a grounding activity. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So 5 things that I can see is the board, the flag, your glasses, the note paper, and then my pen.
4 things you can touch.
My water bottle, the pens, the table, and my skin.
3 things you can hear.
Voices, the elevator, and the clock ticking.
2 things you can smell.
Smell Alex's food.
Wow.
My lip gloss.
And 1 thing that you can taste.
The pizza I ate.
It's a tool she says anyone can use during an anxious moment.
The important part is that you're able to interrupt what is going through your mind. It just kind of brings you back to focus on things. I mean, if you're in the middle of a state of anxiety and you have to look around and pick 5 things to see and really focus on them, it interrupts the cycle of anxiety. The prompt that I picked today was, what is 1 thing you're proud of achieving?
Madden also stresses the benefits of journaling and focusing on positive aspects of your life.
I had a good grade on my math test, and I'm like really terrible at math, so I'm proud of that.
We know that gratitude helps reduce anxiety and depression, and being in a state of here and now and being grateful for the things that you do have rather than focusing on the things you don't. And I think with teenagers, that's especially huge because they compare themselves so often to other students.
What do you want other kids at home to know about why it's so important to talk about your mental health?
It's not good to keep it bundled together because you will literally lose your mind because it's happened to me before and it's not a good feeling.
It's okay to ask for help. You don't need to suffer in silence. It's all right. Not everybody's going to accept, but you will find the right people.
Grinalise told me the most important thing she wants parents to know is to just be there for their kids. And experts say parents need to take care of their own mental health to best help their children.
That slogan is catching on, the it's okay not to be okay. And the more we talk about it, the more helpful it is. That grounding exercise, what does that do? Just to
really
make you
good.
stay in the present,
Well,
in the
it
present
basically
moment?
breaks up the anxiety. So if you're having an anxious moment and you start going down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Yeah.
you start looking around and what can I see? What can I hear? What can I taste? And then it brings you back.
That's something we can all do.
I think so too. And I wanted there to be a really concrete takeaway for parents and students because we know they're in trouble, but these programs are working.
But the other thing, Meg, that I took away from this is the amount of, when I was a kid and I was bullied, I could go home. And the torment ended when I walked through the door of my house because there was no social media. And also I wasn't inundated with images of who I was supposed to be when I was at home. And now kids today, I really worry for them because they are 24/7 under the microscope, feeling the pressure, gun violence in their schools.
Because that bully could be in your hands.
That's
Yes.
right.
Constantly.
Or not even somebody you know. It's an image that you see on social media
Yes.
that tells you should be like
That's
this.
constant. You were bullied in school?
Oh,
High school, junior high school?
All through for a very long time. I moved around a lot as a kid, so
Yeah.
always being the new kid was always very difficult. I wasn't sporty. I was very nerdy.
Yeah.
And into Dungeons and Dragons, and
Right.
the things that that nerdy.
If you could go back and talk to little Vlad, what would you say?
Well, I would try to do that grounding exercise
Yeah.
because that
It's really
really is something that centers you in the moment. And also it's what you said, Gail, it's okay to not be okay. But also that Vlad would not know this Vlad. And
Yes.
that is the most beautiful
That's
part
true.
of life.
It's going to get better.
It's going to get better.
And it does get better.
It does.
The other thing I liked in the piece, gratitude helps reduce anxiety and depression.
And this is
I
an
think that's
area
important for people to think about.
they can use their smartphones to journal, use your
Yes.
voice memos, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
There's a smart way to do that.
I
Thank
like
you,
that.
Meg. Thank you.
Meg,
Well
thank
done.
Really great, Meg. Thank you.
Meg Oliver. A reminder, the documentary is called Connecting the Dots. It's available on demand right now at cbsnews.com. It's very, very well done and very good. If you or your child is in emotional distress, call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.
Okay, fathers, what are your thoughts? One thing I want to say to all fathers of daughters, it takes an entire village to raise a child. We hear that, and it's just not something to say. It's facts. And I remember when I was the dean of students and just dealing with so many children that were disconnected from their parents. They didn't have a relationship with their parents. And it was sad to see. When you think about the village, right? We have our immediate family and immediate family members. The extended family is part of the village. Kids spend between 6 to 8 hours a day in school. And that's where their peer groups are. That's where a lot of kids feel safest at school versus being at home, which is sad, but school for a lot of kids is a safety net, depending on what's going on at home with their parents or just what's going on at home. So the hearing and listening part of our children, fathers, once again, our daughters, we have to be hearing them. We have to be listening to them, because if not, they will find refuge somewhere else to where they're going to be heard and listened to. Okay. So fathers, we have to be paying attention. We really have to be paying attention, fathers, and knowing the behaviors of our kids, if they're changing, if they're moving differently. We have to be paying attention to all that. And hearing and listening requires everyday conversation and validation with our children. So, those are things that we have to get right, fathers. We cannot not have a relationship with our daughters, because it will not be sustainable when they become adults. So I have one more video that I want to share with you, fathers of daughters, and then we'll wrap up the live stream. Okay. Let's see here.
In health.
Okay. See. Okay, let's see.
In health news, teens are dying from drug overuse more than ever before. A recent study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association shows teen deaths nearly doubled from 2019. Fentanyl caused more than 77% of teen drug-related deaths last year. Joining me to talk through this is Steve Carlton, Executive Clinical Director at Gallus Medical Detox Centers, which opened in April. So thank you for being here. Tell us what you guys do. You specialize in fentanyl and opioid treatment?
Yeah, we specialize in detox. So when people get addicted and physiologically dependent on drugs and alcohol, we help them get off.
I think that says a lot, the fact that there is a need for an entire center to do the type of work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 5 locations. We're in Dallas and Texas and Colorado and Arizona. Yeah, there's a huge need.
Okay, still a lot of people, I think, probably don't know what fentanyl is. People perhaps at home watching who may have kids. So let's go over that.
Yeah, absolutely. So fentanyl is a synthetic opiate. It's a painkiller. And what people need to understand about fentanyl is there's a lot of medical benefits and uses for fentanyl. The fentanyl we're seeing on the streets right now is mainly pushed through from cartels and drug dealers, and it's laced in all sorts of drugs and fake medications.
And so that's what's causing these deaths is kids are taking perhaps recreational drugs and then they don't know that it's laced with fentanyl, and that causes them to overdose and die.
Exactly. Yeah. So kids are actually not using and experimenting with drugs at the rates we used to see, but the overdose rate has tripled during COVID, in teens especially. And so they're not using drugs more, but they are overdosing more because it's so potent.
Okay, that's what. Yeah, and so a lot of these drugs that we're talking about, laced with fentanyl. What types of drugs are most commonly used right now?
So these drug dealers, they're counterfeit pills. So they take OxyContin, which is a painkiller. They take Xanax, as a benzodiazepine, and even Adderall. And they press these pills in a sophisticated way to make them look like something that came out of someone's medicine cabinet. But in reality, they're these illegal drugs.
Yeah. And the way that kids are getting their hands on them are by buying them through other people?
Well, social media has greatly increase the access that kids and anyone has to these substances. You can go on social media and you can search specific emojis and find connections to drug dealers.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. Okay. So we have it on our screen now. This is some of the stuff that maybe parents can look out for if you're monitoring your kids' iPads or smartphones. I mean, mushrooms, I think that's pretty obvious, but some of the other stuff, I mean, I wouldn't have known, like high potency, for instance.
That top line especially is that blue circle. They call these OxyContin fake pills blues, right? And so that blue circle is a big one, and that red and yellow pill, that's one to look out for. That's
Xanax.
Commonly used.
And then, Adderall is interesting because it's so common,
right?
For a variety of reasons. And when you talk to physicians, most of them say, look, there's no long-term side effect. There's no reason why you can't take it. So how can people, I guess, be careful with that?
This is why you have to talk to your kids about this, and your teens and kids home from college and whatnot, because they're very sophisticated. People selling these will tell you they're pharmaceuticals, that they're from a pharmacy, and they're not, and they look identical. And so it's really, that's what makes it so dangerous.
Where can people find you? And, what's kind of like a final thought that you'd want to give parents as we're heading into the holidays?
Gallus Detox is a great place to find us.
Okay.
I think the SAMHSA website is another great resource that's a program locator. And I think the final thing is when you're talking to your kids, teens and young adults like to be the experts. So let them be the expert. Ask them what they know about these substances. It's a great way to start these conversations.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. It was a super important conversation, and I hope that people out there will heed the warnings.
Okay, fathers. Another live stream. Thank you for participating and being part of Grow Dad YouTube channel. That was an excellent interview, excellent video. And like the gentleman was saying, excuse me, boy, I got something in my throat. It's not the fact that kids are using more drugs, but they're overdosing at a higher rate. I can tell you my experience as a state juvenile probation officer, and I've said this in several videos of mine that I've made already. 90 to 95% of the girls that I supervised on juvenile probation that ran away from home were on drugs. Excuse me. And alcohol. So they self-medicated quite a bit. And most kids I know, even when I was a dean of students, self-medication is huge among kids. So they could try to get away from their problems. Boy, excuse me. So self-medication is huge. Fathers, I have to reiterate, hearing and listening to our daughters. So with that being said, fathers, I want you to have a great and blessed week. Keep your heads up. I live stream once a week on Grow Dad YouTube channel. Thank you for being a part. Thank you for participating. And until next week, I'll holla at you. Peace.